Ele falou que basicamente eles seguraram ele aí e falaram, você não pode sair agora. Mas tá bom, mas o que ele tá falando?
No Shama, let's go. October 4.
Dominic Reyes stirred the pot when he revealed that his heart was leaning toward Magomed Ankalaev in the upcoming rematch. It wasn't because of any animosity toward Alex Pereira, though. In fact, Reyes explained that his decision came down to something personal. Pereira has been a close friend and training partner, and the last thing Reyes wants is to be matched against someone he considers family. That statement captured how highly respected the Brazilian still is in the sport, even among those who might have to share the cage with him someday.
A rematch is going to be more competitive no matter what, right? Because you're aware, right, of each other more. You saw openings that you could have taken in the first fight, you know, that you maybe didn't take, things like that. Maybe you're worried about this thing that never happened, so you could be more free. You know, you never know. But I think it's going to be a more entertaining fight in terms of action, because it was kind of slow last fight, and we didn't really see Pereira really pull the trigger like he should have. But that could have been just Ankalaev just doing his thing and stifling him, you know, a great game plan and keeping him on his heels. But we'll see, man. I got no predictions or understanding of really what exactly was going on with them, because obviously I'm a week before them.
Sure.
So I've been being focused on what I got to do here. I guess next week, after I win this fight and I'm in Vegas, we could have this talk again and I can give you a more detailed breakdown.
That'll happen at UFC 320 a week after you. But like, do you prefer one guy to fight over the other, or it's so out of like beyond of what you're thinking about at the moment?
Well, the only reason I want to fight Ankalaev is because I'm friends with Pereira, right? I did a full camp with him, you know?
Good point, yeah.
The second fight between Pereira and Ankalaev feels bigger than the first in every possible way. For the Dagestani champion, it's a chance to silence the doubters who argued his earlier victory was tactical rather than definitive. A win here would solidify his position as the rightful king of light heavyweight division, proving he's more than just a placeholder. For Pereira, it's an opportunity to reclaim the belt that once defined his reign and remind everyone why his knockout power remains one of the most feared weapons in the sport. If the Brazilian manages to get his hand raised, it would shake up the division all over again, possibly paving the way for blockbuster bouts with names like Khamzat Chimaev or Tom Aspinall.
You never ever spoke to his way to another fighter as well. Like, why do you talk to him differently? Does he get under your skin as well?
Honestly, up until recently, I had respect for him as a fighter, as a person, but I no longer respect him because he just... Okay, trash talk is something that you hype up the fight and you say something funny or maybe just to be salty. But when you lie to people and say that, oh, I saw him and he hid or he was hiding in a PI, the stuff like that he recently said, I don't respect people like that. Why would you lie about something that never happened? You know. But I have no problem. But if he gets close to me, say next week, and decides that I think he's too close to me, of course I'm going to defend myself. But other than that, we'll see everything in the cage.
The tension between the two fighters only intensified after a fiery run-in at the UFC Performance Institute. Ankalaev, speaking in his native Russian, used a translator app on his phone to communicate with Pereira in Portuguese. The exchange quickly turned sour, with Pereira visibly annoyed by what he heard. He accused Ankalaev of being all talk, while the Russian pushed back by saying the only place to resolve matters was inside the octagon. The back and forth ended with Pereira labeling his rival as cowardly, making it clear that their rivalry had crossed into genuine animosity.
Ele falou, cara, na verdade a gente vai lutar no dia 4 de outubro, a gente não tem que trocar palavras mais.
Eu não falei nada, ele sempre falou. Eu nunca falei nada, ele sempre falou. E agora quando chegou frente a frente é cuzão.
Ankalaev hasn't been shy about expressing his feelings either. Whatever respect he once had for Pereira is gone. He's been vocal about how Pereira crossed a line by spreading stories that he avoided him in the past, something the Dagestani insists is false. For Ankalaev, this isn't just about hyping a fight, it's about defending his honor. From his perspective, using lies for promotion is dishonorable. Their animosity has only been amplified by online trash talk. Ankalaev mocked Pereira's past by telling him he belonged in his old tire shop, while Pereira fired back with insults of his own, calling the champion a clown. All of it has added fuel to a fire that no longer feels manufactured.
If Alex Pereira is able to take care of Ankalaev, it's a part 3 coming up.
I think it's Unk time, dude. I think Ankalaev is just different, bro. The only chance that, to me, Pereira has is just power catching him. What's he gonna wrestle? Is he gonna do jiu-jitsu? Honestly, dude, I'm not hating.
I mean, he got some jiu-jitsu.
Oh, come on, cuz. Oh my God. I'm gonna call Ali, dude. I'm gonna call Ali after this.
What?
Jesus, dude.
Just because, okay, listen.
You're just being negative, Nancy. No.
Just because he doesn't have to use it in the octagon means he doesn't have jiu-jitsu. We saw GC try to grab that single and he showed DC, hey, I got the D now. Pause.
DC is also paid by the UFC, if you didn't know.
I forgot about that.
I feel like I'm really the good guy in this damn show, Kamaru D.
It's a very interesting story because the other day I was doing like some physical therapy, like a massage, and then after I finished, I came out, I was told that Pereira was there, but I didn't see him. And then the next day I see a video come out where he says that I was hiding and stuff like that, which is not true. And I was a little angry when I saw the video. So then when I saw him today, I approached him, I said, hey, when did I see you or when did you see me? It never happened. And to which he answered, he said, oh, there was one girl who told me that you were there, but, you know, he switched the topic, you know.
Still, Pereira hasn't been short on support. Rashid Evans has been encouraged by the version of Pereira he's seen leading up to this rematch. The Brazilian has been more outspoken than usual, taking direct aim at Ankalaev and dismissing him as a weak champion. Evans views this fiery energy as a positive sign. To him, the most dangerous fighters are often those who embrace their ruthless side, and Pereira's willingness to tap into that savage mindset might be exactly what drives him back to the top.
He showed he's a coward. We'll see. He's hiding now. We'll be in the cage, locked in there, unless he jumps the fence. He's a shitty champion, this guy. Never heard Alex talk like that about any of his opponents.
I love that, Jama. I love that. You know, I've got a chance to see Alex a few times just here and there, and I really like Alex as a person, and I like the fact that you know, he's kind of settled down his life a bit, just kind of really got dialed in. You know, sometimes success can make you be your own worst enemy, just being so spread out, going here, going there, and you overbook your schedule, and before you know it, you're doing all the other things more than you are actually doing the thing that, you know, that you're making your money from. So I'm glad that he's kind of reconnected to that savage part of himself, because listen, this isn't a nice contest. Yeah, it's great, you can have respect for your opponent, but there has to be that part of you that is just an asshole, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be a savage in there, and for him to tap back into that savagery, he's gonna need that. He's gonna need that. So I'm glad that he's feeling that way, and I'm glad that he's not liking them. Shake hands and be friends after the competition.
Despite all the tension and speculation, many analysts have tried to dissect what actually went wrong in the first fight and what could be different this time around. Chael Sonnen was one of the first to chime in, and his perspective was blunt. He pointed out that the initial matchup between Pereira and Ankalaev wasn't something fans had been clamoring for, nor was it the UFC's top choice. The fight was booked mostly because other plans fell apart. Sonnen revealed that the promotion even tried pairing Ankalaev with Alexander Rakic or Khalil Roundtree, but when those options collapsed, they had little choice but to go with Pereira.
Will you come out and support and watch and be into the fight 2 more times? Because if Pereira wins, that's the only honorable thing to do. Right? You gotta settle the score. Pereira knows this better than anybody. So, what do you do in that case? I mean, if Pereira wins, and we gotta go back to Unk. If Pereira wins and we're not gonna go with Unk, anybody in that top stratosphere, Pereira's already beat. And with a loss, With a loss, the answer for Pierre will be very clear, and it will be what he's wanted all along.
Nobody knows Pereira better than his longtime mentor and former champion Glover Teixeira. He has been hands-on with Pereira's preparation and has seen the improvements firsthand. According to him, this fight will be fought at a much higher pace than the first. He expects Pereira to apply relentless pressure right from the start, creating discomfort for Ankalaev and forcing the action. He said, "The first round will be brutal. It's not that he'll come in angry, but he'll come in with that same aggressive attitude. This fight will be much more dynamic. Foden will be pressing the entire time because he's ready for it. Mentally, there are guys who are different. I've always been calm in my fights, but I had my doubts. Foden seems very confident, very focused. He's doing very well. Now we'll own it in these last 3 weeks. Get the timing right because the guy is already ready for 5 rounds." Daniel Cormier broke down the first fight as well, and in his view, Pereira's downfall wasn't his wrestling defense. Instead, it was his passivity. By constantly backing up, Pereira gave Ankalaev the chance to control where the fight took place. Cormier argued that the key for Pereira is to move forward, cut off the cage and unleash his devastating power without hesitation. If he reverts to being reactive, the fight could play out in the same frustrating way it did before.
I think, as you said, it didn't feel like there was going to be much of a difference. But what did feel different was Alex wrestled much better than we expected him to. He defended takedowns much better than we expected him to. He was not ground to the ground. Now it's up to him, Plinio and Glover, and we have seen him come up with game plans before, to make it to where Alex can actually go get it done and not get pressed against the octagon. That's where the difference has to happen, Chill. He wasn't taken down, but he was controlled. So he was controlled in the clinch last time. He was backed up the entire time. How does he move forward without Ankalaev actually pressing into him? I think he needs to get some respect from him very early, Chael, to make Ankalaev take a few steps back. Because right now, Ankalaev has been in there with him, and he'll have more confidence that he can handle the power of Pereira than he did going into fight 1. The unknown is the scariest thing in fighting. Man, everybody this guy hits, he puts down or he bludgeons them. Now he knows he went 25 minutes and that didn't happen to him. This guy's been golden for us in regards to stepping up and fighting. But he's plus 150 against Ankalaev, and Ankalaev's minus 180. Chael, I got a question. Are you surprised at the line being that close? Because what we saw in the first fight, it didn't seem like Alex had much for him in regards to answers for stopping Ankalaev from pressing him up against the octagon.
It was a hard fight, and I will tell you that Alex won the first round. That's according to the judges, not just according to me. And then he proceeded to lose the next 4. Listen, when that contest was over, I didn't think that any reasonable analysis could come to the conclusion that if they did it again, we would get a different outcome. There was also a little bit of a resistance by the fight. This was billed a little bit differently. It seemed like the UFC was on board, but it was Ankalaev that was going and picking the fight with Alex. It was Ankalaev that was challenging him, calling him out. And I only wonder, generally when a fighter will do that when he's the champion, when the champion starts calling somebody out, particularly a guy that he just beat, it's because his own social media, his own world, the bubble that he lives in, people are disputing it. People are telling, hey, you couldn't do it again. Hey, Alex was hurt. Hey, he fought 4 times in 9 months. Try doing it again. Something like that must have happened to Ankalaev. So I think that the audience perhaps saw it a little bit different than I did, but a lot of times I learned something from the audience. So I'm very open to this idea. But Daniel, how are we going to get Pereira to heavyweight? That's my question. And when he moved up to 205, people kind of misremember this. They think he ran through 85 so much we'll let him go, but that's actually wrong. He lost. He lost is the reason that he was able to move up. And I only share with you, if he loses to Ankalaev, I believe he will be a heavyweight. But I just believe that's the spot we're in right now. He just lost Ankalaev. He doesn't have a belt.
Not everyone is convinced that Pereira can turn things around though. Rising contender Zhang Mingyang sees a fighter who has lost his hunger. He believes that Pereira's immense wealth has dulled the edge that once made him so dangerous. Zhang compared it to what happened with Conor McGregor, who became one of the richest athletes in the sport but then struggled to maintain the same level of success, winning only once in nearly a decade.
Who do you think wins that fight? What's your prediction for the title fight?
Yeah, I think still Ankalaev can defend his title because I think Pereira is not as motivated as before. So I mean, if we can get the old Pereira back, he's still the, let's say, the better striker than Ankalaev. But for now, if he still fought like the way like he fought last fight, I think Ankalaev can still win this fight.
Why do you think there's a lack of motivation there, in your opinion?
Because he has earned too much money. He's too rich. I think it's no matter who you are, as a fighter or as a human being, if you are too rich, you are just like a kind of lack of motivation, as when you are young, when you are poor, when you are hungry. I think that's normal.
Carlos Prates holds the opposite opinion. He sees Pereira's ability to learn from mistakes as one of his greatest strengths. According to Prates, Pereira still possesses the tools to knock out anyone in the division, and this rematch could showcase that. He believes Pereira will come in not only determined to win, but eager to finish Ankalaev in emphatic fashion, leaving no doubt about who the better fighter truly is.
I think Pereira gonna win. You know, he got a break on his career. You know, he saw all his mistakes, you know, and fix everything. And now I think he gonna step on the cage and gonna knock Ankalaev out.
Michael Bisping offered a more cautious take. He acknowledged Ankalaev's wrestling as a strong weapon, even if he isn't quite the grappling force people typically associate with Dagestan fighters. Bisping also warned that another loss for Pereira could be disastrous for his UFC career. It could potentially push him toward exploring other options such as boxing or even ventures like karate combat. On the flip side, a victory would completely shift the narrative, silence the critics, and line Pereira up for some massive opportunities, including the possibility of a clash with heavyweight star Tom Aspinall.
Right, I've been there. I know what it feels like. And yes, Magomed, even though he's from Dagestan, isn't a Habib-level wrestler or is that Makachev or something like that. But he does have wrestling in his back pocket. He beat him at his own game. But Pereira is under a lot of pressure here. He's got to come out. He's got to be aggressive. He's got to go forward. If he's going to get that belt back and get some pride back, he's got to win this fight. Because if he doesn't, this might be the last time we see him fight in the UFC. We saw him have a bit of a meltdown on Twitter recently when something didn't go his way. I forget the exact tweet, what it was, but you know what I'm talking about if you follow the sport. And now he's talking about potentially fighting for karate combat. He's talking about potentially boxing. He's made an absolute fortune. He's left his mark on the sport. But if he beats Magomed Ankalaev, then of course, you know, forget about all those conversations. He's going to be staying in the UFC, and he'll probably fancy his chances against Tom Aspinall at some point.
Dan Hardy also weighed in and echoed some of the ideas shared by Cormier. In his view, Pereira showed too much respect in the first fight. Hardy argued that Pereira needed to impose himself physically, not just with strikes but also with clinch work that could wear down Ankalaev. By constantly pressing forward, Pereira could force takedown attempts that are easier to defend compared to being stuck against the fence. To Hardy, aggression and pressure are the keys, not playing it safe.
What do you think that Alex Pereira needs to do this time around to get his hand raised and win that title back?
I think he needs to close the range down a little bit. You know, I think maybe he had a little bit too much respect for Ankalaev in the last fight. I also think he wasn't quite sure which hand Ankalaev was going to play. You know, and Ankalaev is very, very confident as a striker. His wrestling's always been a backup in his game, and he's never particularly wanted to use it too much. But just the idea of it being there, the threat, I don't know, it seemed to make Pereira just kind of hesitate a little bit too much. And Pereira, when he's at that close range, either when you're coming to him, like when Strickland fought him, Strickland was walking into his range, or when someone's moving away and he's walking into their range, like Jamal Hill, it's that, like, you feel that pressure of his kind of frame coming at you, and people feel like they need to react. And what I love about it, there's really good videos of him training online where he slips offline and counters with power punches, and the slip of the punch loads the power punch to come back. So his ability at close range to not only kind of bear over people and make them anxious, but also to pressure them to throw, in which case he feeds off it and works with counters. Like, if I'm Pereira, I would be thinking about getting as close to him as possible, getting in his face, maybe even try and use a bit of tie clinch just to kind of, you know, manage the clinch a bit. But I would also think that he's going to be better defending takedowns on the front foot as well, right? You know, better if he's pressuring forward and forcing Ankalaev to shoot under pressure. That would be my thought process, but I don't know. I mean, we might see a very different Ankalaev this time around, you know, and that's also something that Pereira's got to adapt to in that first round.
But then, there's Arman Tsarukyan, who remains firmly on Ankalaev's side. He wasn't surprised by the outcome of the first fight and doesn't expect much to change in the rematch. He pointed out Ankalaev's sharp striking tools, particularly his powerful left hand and damaging leg kicks. Those kicks in Tsarukyan's eyes were crucial in neutralizing Pereira's balance and limiting his ability to throw his signature power shots. From his perspective, Ankalaev simply has the more complete skill set to win again.
What do you think of the main event, Magomed Ankalaev beating Alex Pereira?
I know that Ankalaev gonna beat him if it's not lucky punch. We know like Pereira, he's so dangerous. He has a good left hook and kicks, leg kicks. But first round he started with leg kicks. And I was scared, like, again, they're gonna, like, kill his legs, and then he gotta change his stand. But then he could change his game. He started to go forward, and he won last, I think, 4 rounds.
So you scored it for Magomed?
3-2. 5 was, like, even 50-50, you know? You never know.
The closer fight night gets, the more storylines have stacked up. Pereira has the backing of legends and coaches who see him as sharper, more aggressive, and mentally prepared for war, and on the other hand, Ankalaev has supporters who believe his well-rounded skills and composed approach will once again be too much. The back and forth between both fighters, whether through interviews, face-to-face encounters, or social media insults, has only made the rematch feel bigger. For Pereira, it's about redemption and reminding the world of his terrifying power. For Ankalaev, it's about proving that his first victory was no fluke and cementing his legacy as the man who reshaped the light heavyweight division.